gorgeous. I'm the Fairy Voice Mother, and today I have something extremely interesting to show you. In fact, it's borderline too interesting, to the point where I've done way more research than I wanted to, just because I cannot stop myself. A few months ago, I read a comment under one of my videos that said something about a girl named Ebba Robinson with an extraordinary voice that people can't figure out what it is that she's doing, and I've never heard anything like it. Loosely quoted. As soon as I read those buzzwords like extraordinary, no one knows what's going on, I become possessed. The wonders of the larynx just inconsolably compel me. So I clicked the link, as I will do now. I will reenact it for you. When I tell you, you are not ready for this. You are not ready for this. Just watch. It's so unassuming as well. This is the crazy thing about it. It looks like it's been filmed on a toaster. It's a really shitty mic. And you're just expecting a really normal, sweet version of this song. And it's not what you think it is. It's not metal. It's not bad. Just this is so crazy.
All along it was a fever. Cold sweat, heart, hip, and liver.
Is this blowing your mind?
I threw my hands in the air and said, show me something. He said, if you dare, come a little closer.
I've seen this now at least 20 times, and every time it just, like, it thrills me. Let's just watch a little bit more before we have a breakdown. Not as in an emotional breakdown. I didn't actually mean that. I meant like an analysis breakdown, but I don't know, you might. You might have some thoughts going around in your head as to how this audio sounds this way, and I want you to sit with them for a second. So let's just...
Round and around and around and around we go. Sure how to feel about it. Something in the way you move makes me feel like I can't live without you. Yeah, it takes me all the way. I want you to stay. It's not much of a life you're living.
Just this next little bit.
It's not just something you take, it's given. Ooh.
What the f***? I know. Well, let me tell you what the f*** it isn't. AutoTune. It's not AutoTune. And I'll tell you all of the reasons why it isn't AutoTune, or any kind of tuning software, actually. How AutoTune works is it processes a singer's vocal performance and slots all of the notes that they sing into the closest semitone, or even the closest note in the key. For example, you can set AutoTune to tune everything the singer does within the scale of F major, in which case, even if there is a note that you sing that happens to be out of that F major scale, it will snap it as far as it needs to get to the nearest one. The most common and natural use of AutoTune, though, is to snap the notes chromatically, meaning wherever the singer was, it will drag it to the nearest semitone. And you can adjust the settings to make it a quick snap or a slow snap, but it will snap it. And so the reason then that we get this kind of robotic effect when a singer uses AutoTune, and we can usually tell, is because one does not play the human voice with buttons. It's more like a string instrument, because our two vocal folds will vibrate at a certain amount of times per second to achieve a desired pitch. And so it's almost literally impossible to have a singer that will vibrate their voice the absolute most perfect times per second to hit every single note, especially when the notes are fast, which is why you can usually notice AutoTune the most when the singer performs like quite a fast riff, because there's just no way that you could get all of those notes accurately.
Let them go, that's against the rules.
The vocal folds will slack a little bit, and the speed of the vibrations will be very slightly off as you come down. The human voice's imperfections are largely what draws us to that singer. Those little moments where the voice cracks or goes a little bit flat or a little bit sharp with a lot of emotion, that's what we want and that's what we relate to. Emma's performance has all of that stuff.
Ooh, now tell me no, tell me no, tell me no, you know.
She does the snap on the first one, but then the others have little slides in them and they're not absolutely perfectly pitched. So how could it be auto-tuned? Because if it was, they would all be like, no, tell me no, tell me no, tell me no, you know. Another thing you might be thinking is, well, that does happen in songs that famously have auto-tune, like Believe by Cher. She has very, very auto-tuney moments. Then other bits, sounds like they don't have auto-tune on them at all.
You keep pushing me aside and I can't break through.
And my answer to that would be, probably, yeah. Probably only some of the vocal takes were auto-tuned and others were not. The same thing also happens in that Rosalía song that I can't remember the name of, but I'll put it here. But it is very hard to believe that Emma here, who is probably about 15 or 16, has gone to the lengths of filming this on her iPhone 4, found a way in 2013 when this was posted to separate the piano and the voice, which I don't even think you could do at that time. If you could, it would have been very advanced, expensive technology. Because the piano pitch doesn't change, and if it was auto-tuned, the piano would be all wonky woo as well, but it's not. So she would have had to separate the piano and voice. Okay. Or, of course, she could be miming this whole thing, and she's actually recorded it already, auto-tuned little parts of it, left other parts as it is, and then put it together on the video. It just didn't happen. She's just doing some kind of fancy yodeling. No. Yodeling would explain this.
Not really sure how to feel about it.
That's yodeling. Not really sure. That is a yodel, I guess. Kind of. Not really. Even if yodeling can explain that, how do you explain this?
Ooh, no, tell me no, tell me no, tell me no, you know.
I'm still so amazed.
Well, what the frick even is a yodel anyway?
The foundation of what a yodel is technically is going from a strong voice production, a chest voice, or a strong mixed voice or a belt or something like that, and transitioning very rapidly into a higher note, usually, in a lighter register, like a falsetto. Ooh. By the way, you have to watch this full audition. I'll link it in the description. Ruby's voice is obviously amazing, but this is the most adorable family I've ever seen. You just have to watch it. It's like the goth sister, dad crying. They are so supportive in the most aggressive, beautiful way, and it is just, I cried watching this. I've been lucky enough to find a few laryngoscopy videos or throat camera videos of yodeling. Something that I really noticed in each of them was both a very rapid thinning out of the vocal folds when they transition to the upper end of the yodel, and a separation of the vocal folds where that higher note has a lot of breath coming through it. Which really leads me to believe that that break that we hear in the yodel, the ooh, aww, it's that rapid change of breath hitting the vocal folds differently as they separate. Yay! Kind of like the pop of a champagne cork or something like that. Not really, but you know what I mean. That sort of pop of breath coming through. Ooh! That was a big yodel tangent. And so although we're getting a little bit warmer in discovering what the f*** Emma Robinson is doing here, we are still not very hot. But we do get much warmer when we investigate the side yodel. Now, I was first introduced to the side yodel or reverse yodel by River. And the concept is the exact same as regular yodeling, except you don't change the note. So you have to control your voice to go from mode 1 to mode 2, or like chest to head, without changing the pitch or the speed in which your vocal folds vibrate. The sideways yodel. Now we can henceforth evolve our sideways yodel Pokemon into a reverse yodel. we're getting warmer. This actually does explain some of the stuff she does in this vocal performance. Not all of it, but some of it.
Not really sure how to feel about it.
Not really sure
Which one of us is caving?
So it isn't auto-tune and it isn't yodeling. It's not even really side yodeling or reverse yodeling. So what is she doing and why have we never heard anything like this before? It is a multifaceted situation. She has exceptional pitch abilities. I've taught a few singers now with perfect pitch, and although it can sound like a total blessing, which it very much is, it can also be a bit of a curse. For example, when you're training something like range, you are probably going to sing some of those high notes that you're working for a little bit flat. And so these singers will usually either strain or do it too thin for a while because they absolutely just can't sing flat. It gives them the ickiest of icks. Whereas if I'm teaching a singer where they're not as obsessed over their pitch, they are more likely to be able to make the necessary mistakes, kind of ugly sounding flat notes for a while that you have to make when you work on some of those vocal techniques. And so when I'm listening to Emma, I'm hearing someone prioritize pitch over pretty much anything else.
All along it was a fever.
So in this first line, we've got, all along it was a fever. Now, that first interval is quite a big jump. Ba, ba. And because she's obviously very, very relaxed while she's singing, she's playing the piano and she's chilling, you know, she's not like, da, da, da. She's probably not physically throwing herself into this in a way that she would be able to achieve that high note with strength. So you'd have two options. Sing it relaxed and with potentially dodgy pitch, all alone. Or allow your voice to transition to a thinner vocal production to take off some of that weight and strain and allow that pitch to come out more bang on. All alone. That way you're able to hit the pitch accurately without too much force.
A cold, sweat, hard-headed believer.
A cold, sweat, hard-headed believer. The same with that phrase. God, that was so hard. Ba, ba, ba. Now, most people would probably sing that with a little bit of a bend. A cold, sweat, hard-headed believer. But if you take away too much bendy-wendiness, which she obviously prefers to do because she wants to nail those pitches, you get...
A cold, sweat, hard-headed.
There's no slides. By the way, I'm super refreshed by her approach to vibrato as well. She does have some long sustained notes with very, very beautiful vibrato, but she also cuts a lot of her notes off short.
Round and around and around we go.
And around we go. And it's quite hard to do that, which is why you usually hear people trail off. And around we go. Oh. Because when you add a it can cover a multitude of sins, like not being bang on the pitch. But that is not up for debate for Emma. She is always on the pitch, so she doesn't need to cover up any pitchy sins. The second facet of this vocal wizardry is that her larynx is very mobile. There are moments where we get little agile passages here where it doesn't sound yodely, but it sounds still like it's got that auto-tuney breaky thing.
Tell me now, you know.
Say we're doing a riff where the notes are ba 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 ba, and I do it ba or ba. That little breaky sound you hear is not auto-tune. It's the larynx ability to be very mobile and then stop in its tracks and come down. You can watch my larynx as I do it. I'll do the blurry one. Ba, ba. Da, 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 da. So a mobile larynx does invoke this kind of slightly robotic sounding thing on riffs. And we hear I do it here.
Something in the way you move.
The way you move. It's got those little transients in it, those little breaky woos. That sound that you're hearing is because of that shift, that dramatic shift in larynx position. And then after this riff, we have another reversey yodely situation.
Something in the way you move makes me feel like I can't live without you.
makes me. And so a lot of it, I think, is this juxtaposition between her ability to be very flexible and precise with the larynx movements and doing occasionally these reverse yodel effects to prioritize the pitch. That's most of it. But the third facet, I hate that I've used the word facet because now it just sounds really weird. I should have said like thing and not been a knobhead, is... What was I going to say? Oh yeah. Her falsetto quality, or the voice that she transitions to when she does her breaks, is not particularly breathy. It's very stable and there's quite a decent amount of closure in there. And so that's why it doesn't sound like a flip or a lilt. So if we're talking sideways yodeling, it's the difference between ooh and ooh. It's got much more of a robotic kind of jolty magic effect because the second note sounds really similar to the first note, to the point where you might even not even realize even she's gone to a different register. You're just bamboozled by the break. Your attention is not drawn to the this note here. It's on the actual break itself. Ooh. Your attention is mostly focused on the break because the two sides of the notes sound quite similar. Not only is this because the voice that she transitions to is not very breathy and airy and light, her chestiness, her mode oneness, is also not very heavy, which is why Shakira's voice has such a big meh, because her mode one is really like down and heavy like that. So when you let it go, you really notice it. But hers is like here, not really sure how to... So yeah, I would definitely recommend checking out Emma's channel because she has a few more mind-blowing covers of songs.
Give me your attention, baby.
It's nice to see her more recently, like how she's developed into a beautiful performer with a lot more skills. So she can now support her voice and make it really strong and full and use this yodel technique very, very scarcely when she wants it. Teenage girls' voices do break as well as teenage boy voices, meaning that the voice, if she is indeed a teenager, which I'm pretty sure she is, her voice is more fragile. Now that she's a fully grown adult, I was watching her in this a cappella group and she's singing with a lot of strength. All of a sudden, you know, she's not playing the piano and she's singing out in the room and she's supporting a lot of belting, a lot of strength in those high notes. And henceforth, she does not use so much of this, whatever you want to call it, flippy fabulousness. She does use it, but she uses it scarcely, and I think for creative reasons when she wants to. So I think this is an absolutely wonderful thing to look into. Emma Robinson. I've misplaced my oracle cards that I usually read at the end of all the videos. I'm going to look really hard for them though. So just a message from me then to summarise the end of this video. I would love for you to take a little moment to reflect on if there's anything about your voice or about you as a person that makes you a little bit different, something that other people see you do or hear you do that they think, oh, whether they love it or hate it. Most of us are afraid and reject what we don't understand, and that doesn't mean the thing that you can do is not beautiful. It just means that you haven't found the right crowd to appreciate it yet, perhaps. Or you haven't spent enough time loving that special, unique thing about you in order to allow it to bloom into something beautiful. So take a moment to reflect on something extraordinary that you can do and maybe even share it in the comments, because I would absolutely love to hear about all of the extraordinary things that you can do. It would be a really nice exercise to big yourself up a little bit as well, because I think oftentimes we do fall into traps of only validating things about us if other people have already validated them. And I say it can be a trap because it can mean that you might end up presenting something that isn't who you are, whether physically or otherwise, just because that has received the most validation from other people, meaning it's the safest choice, meaning that you haven't got to deal with as much pain. But The problem with that is it can also lead to a lot of numbness. So if we're able to make that statement personally, whether other people validate it or not, just to come out and say that there's something that you can do or something that is interesting about yourself, and no one else has said it, you are on the path to, I think, a much more authentic existence, which can be painful, but it can also be blissful, and it certainly isn't numb. So, bloody hell, sorry, that was a bit long. I bet you can't wait for me to find my oracle cards. Thank you so much for watching this. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I've enjoyed making it. If you're here at the premiere, a ginormous premiere hug for you, and a hug for everyone else joining me at any other time, anywhere in the world. I love you bunches, and I hope you have a beautiful day. Goodbye! Ooh. Boa tarde.